Sourdough doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. You don't need a kitchen full of fancy tools, just a bowl, a scale, your hands, and a little patience. This recipe is designed to be simple, approachable, and help you bake a beautiful loaf with confidence. Let's make it. Start with adding 100 grams of active sourdough starter and 250 grams of warm water to a bowl and mix well. You want the sourdough mostly dissolved. Then mix in 500 grams of bread flour and mix until no dry spots remain and you have a shaggy dough. Once the dough comes together, I cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes. After that rest, I add salt and work it into the dough until it's fully incorporated. You want to add it little by little. Next comes the stretch and fold process. Every 30 minutes, I complete one set of stretch and folds, repeating that 4 times. Also, do this with wet hands to prevent the dough from sticking. With each set of stretch and folds, the dough becomes smoother, stronger, and much easier to handle. Only stretch it as far as it can go before ripping. Stretch and folds replace traditional kneading. Instead of aggressively working the dough, we gently stretch and fold it over itself every 30 minutes. Doing this strengthens the gluten networks, giving the dough structure so it can trap the gases produced during fermentation. As the gluten develops, the dough becomes smoother, stronger, and more elastic, helping create a loaf with a better oven spring and a light, airy crumb, all without using a stand mixer or spending time kneading by hand. After that, I cover it and let it continue its bulk fermentation until it's increased in size by 50 to 75%. If you get to this point and your dough is sticking to your bowl, just leave it upside down for a second and it will release. Then, when it's ready, I gently shape the dough, trying to create a little surface tension while also trying to keep all those beautiful air bubbles inside, and then move it seam side down onto the parchment paper. Then I put the bread and the parchment paper in a bowl, then cover it and place it in the refrigerator for an overnight cold proof, anywhere from 8 to 16 hours. This slow fermentation develops even more flavor and helps create that beautiful artisan crust. The next day, preheat your oven to 475, then remove the dough from the refrigerator and lift it out of the bowl. If it's sticking to the parchment a little, don't worry, just gently pull it away. Then score the top with a sharp blade. I'll be honest, I'm not the best at scoring, but it still works. Since I don't have a Dutch oven, I cover the loaf with a stainless steel mixing bowl for the first half of the bake to trap the steam. If you don't have a bowl either, you can place a pan of hot water on the bottom of the rack of your oven to create steam inside instead. Then I cover and bake for 20 minutes, then remove the lid, reduce the oven temperature to 450, and then continue baking for another 20 to 25 minutes until the crust is a deep golden brown. After I remove the bread, I cut a little bit under my previous score so I can get a nice ear while it cooks. I'm not gonna lie, the hardest part is waiting, but I let the loaf cool completely before slicing. That gives the inside time to finish setting, leaving you with a crisp crust, a soft chewy crumb, and an incredible homemade sourdough flavor. A few simple ingredients, a little patience, and no fancy equipment. That's all it takes to make an amazing artisan sourdough loaf at home. Enjoy!